Hi, today we will explain the storyline of a movie titled The Wait, released in 2022. Okay, let's get right to the story. On a peaceful small island during the summer, there lives a married couple. The wife, Elli, spends most of her days as a housewife and relaxing by the sea behind her house, while her husband, Mikko, is a priest. They don't have a television or any other form of entertainment. One day, Mikko's old friend, Olavi, comes to stay for a while. He has been living in Paris and plans to move. Elli's husband doesn't mind having him as a guest since they have plenty of rooms in their house, and thus, Elli's busy schedule increases as she prepares to welcome her guest. Olavi is a single man working as a graduate student. On the ship, he met a woman who works as a doctor. A few minutes later, Mikko left to pick up Olavi at the port. To make a long story short, Olavi arrived at Elli's house and Mikko introduced them, even though they had already known each other for a long time. As night fell, they spent the evening having dinner together and chatting lightly. Mikko asked Olavi if he had a girlfriend, to which he replied that he didn't, because it was difficult for him to maintain a relationship. Mikko then offered to find a girl for Olavi, considering there were many beautiful girls in their village. But Olavi said he had met a young doctor named Lena and gotten her contact number. But without being told, they knew that the woman must be Lena. Night fell, and they all went to rest. Elli woke up at dawn and went swimming in the lake before everyone else got up. When the sun rose, Mikko and Olavi woke up and went to bathe in the lake while chatting about Olavi's dating experience. Shortly after that, Mikko left for work, telling Elli not to feel bad because his friend didn't like the small town and was only staying for a short time. However, since the first day Olavi arrived, Elli had been feeling uneasy, but she tried hard to hide her feelings. As usual, Elli did her household chores, such as washing clothes, but after that, she decided to dance while cooking. However, Olavi was watching her from behind the window. After Elli went inside, Olavi finally dared to approach her. Elli thought Olavi was bothered by the music she was playing, but they ended up having a brief conversation about their hobbies and jobs. After finishing cooking, Elli continued her work in the garden, and Olavi came to invite her for a walk by the sea, and Elli agreed. They then talked about the progress of Olavi's thesis. Olavi revealed that he was currently writing a discussion about women, which made Elli a little confused because she thought Olavi was obsessed with women. Olavi explained that he liked the complexity of relationships between men and women, not just one or the other. He also wanted to explore further the impact of love on a relationship and on oneself. After that, Elli and Olavi walked home. On the way, they ran into Mikko on the street. Mikko said that Lena had asked him to say hello to Olavi and that she liked him and wanted him to visit her in the city sometime. Mikko offered them a ride home, but they decided to walk. That night, Olavi offers to cook, and Mikko comments that Olavi's dish looks delicious, but the taste is ordinary. The interaction at the dinner table feels more enjoyable with Olavi in Elli and Mikko's lives. Shortly after, Mikko and Elli enter the room and sleep together, but unbeknownst to them, Olavi is listening to their voices. The next morning, Elli took Olavi to church to watch Mikko give a sermon. Coincidentally, the theme that day was love. Olavi didn't sit in a pew like the other congregants. He listened to Mikko's sermon while standing at the door. After Mass, Mikko said he had to go to the mainland to lead a funeral there, and he left Elli in Olavi's care. Coincidentally, Lena was there at the time, and Mikko said that Lena would be a good match for him. He advised Olavi not to be picky, but at that moment, Lena was with a man. Elli said that Lena didn't like that man and was waiting for someone better. Elli and Olavi walked home together. Here, Olavi brought up the topic of his thesis, saying that love is the second factor considered when choosing a partner. Elli thought that was sad, and Olavi agreed, but he thought it could backfire. Ideally, someone would find love and rationality in the same person, so if two people weren't compatible, it would be impossible to live together without suffering. This time, Elli agreed with him, and from this conversation they both felt closer. That night, Elli and Olavi spent time by the calm ocean while toasting over a bonfire. Shortly after, they went home, and Elli said goodnight before going up to her room. They spent the next day together again, rowing a boat, looking for a place to fish, and chatting. Olavi asked if Elli was happy, and Elli replied that she might feel happy, but she always imagined someone taking her to a very different place. She could have left on her own, but she had chosen to stay on the island. And besides, everyone was free to fantasize, especially about things that couldn't happen. Olavi said they had similar views, and Elli asked if Olavi was happy, to which he replied simply, yes. Then he added that he also had days when he couldn't feel anything and felt lost, but he was sure happiness existed. We just had to choose it. In the afternoon, they returned home, but shortly after Elli entered her room, Olavi followed. For Elli, the upstairs room was her private space, even when Mikko was home, but she didn't mind if Olavi came in. They continued chatting closely until they were almost sleeping together, but suddenly, some of Elli's neighbors arrived with drinks to party with them. They continued the party in the backyard until nightfall, where Lena invited Olavi for a short walk while Elli prepared the sauna. Their arrival disrupted Elli's mood, especially since Lena still invited Olavi to swim in the sea late at night, but she could only pretend to be happy and act like a good hostess. Olavi and all the guests eventually left on a boat tour around the island, so Olavi didn't return until the next morning. He then found Elli cutting wood for the fireplace, and Elli confessed that she felt jealous seeing Lena and Olavi together the night before. However, Olavi said that he had been thinking about Elli all night, even though he was with Lena. After that, they decided to go swimming for a while. Upon returning from swimming, Olavi tried to approach Elli again, but they were once again interrupted by music coming from inside the house. It turned out Mikko had returned. While having breakfast, Mikko shared that his task the previous day had taught him a lot about grief, especially the grief caused by nostalgia and the tendency to get lost in memories of the past. He felt that during Olavi's visit, they had been apart for 15 years, but his visit suddenly made Mikko feel alive and young again. Elli tried to continue their relationship the next morning after Mikko left for work, but Olavi claimed he had to write. It turned out Olavi left without saying goodbye while Elli was exercising by the sea. Elli then plays the cello downstairs while waiting for Olavi to return, until finally, she decides to go look for him. On the way, they meet, and Elli says that Mikko has already left for the mainland, and now they are alone again. However, Olavi's response is different this time. He doesn't seem to acknowledge Elli's gesture. At home, Olavi explained to Elli that when two people fall in love, they think they have the same thoughts, complement each other, and everything feels beautiful until something happens and one of them feels that they have misunderstood. Olavi came to this conclusion after hearing and seeing that Elli and her husband loved each other. He admitted that last night he had peeked at them sleeping together. According to him, Elli loves Mikko and wants to be happy with him. Elli just smiled bitterly and said that Olavi was wrong. Elli said that she had been waiting for Olavi. It turned out that they used to be a couple, but when Olavi never came back, she decided to move on, having relationships with several men before finally meeting Mikko. Mikko loved her, and they decided to marry. At the time, Elli felt it was the right thing to do. Years later, Olavi returned, and Elli admitted that she had missed him all along, but Olavi had thought that way. Hearing this confession, Olavi finally admitted that he loved Elli. The next day, Elli took Olavi across the water by boat to a small island where she spread out a cloth for them to sit together on the rocks. They tried to reconnect their broken love and had a good time there. Afterward, Elli invited Olavi home, where Mikko had already returned. He saw the wicker basket Elli was carrying and assumed they had just gone on a picnic. He said that if Elli had waited for him, he would have gone too. Inside, Mikko told Olavi that today was his and Elli's anniversary, specifically the day Mikko proposed to Elli at her parents' house, where Olavi was also present. So he felt it was important to celebrate. Elli tried to hide her frustration by going into her room and crying silently, while Mikko invited everyone to gather in the yard for a barbecue and toast. In the yard, Mikko revealed that he was happy to have someone he loved, but he regretted that they didn't have children because Elli didn't want any, even though Mikko really wanted to be a father. Olavi reminded him that at least they had each other. Soon after, Elli came down and joined them, while Mikko excused himself to prepare the barbecue. While Mikko was gone, Elli asked Olavi if he was angry with her for not rejecting Mikko's proposal. Olavi said that Elli could have refused, but she didn't want to. After Mikko returned, Olavi told them that Lena would pick him up tomorrow and take him to the mainland so he could go straight to Helsinki. But Mikko forbade him from leaving because he was still happy with Olavi's presence. When it was dark, Elli sat silently listening to Mikko talk to Olavi. The small celebration finally ended, and Elli had tried hard to hide her frustration from Mikko. When Mikko invited her to sleep together, Elli shouted that she felt tired and desperately needed space from Mikko, explaining that she felt suffocated. Mikko was startled by her words and didn't stop Elli, who then ran to the sea to swim, after which she freely shouted out her frustration. That day, Elli returned home late at night, assuming everyone was already asleep. However, Mikko was still awake. He sat by the bed, waiting for Elli. Here, Elli apologized to Mikko, but chose not to sleep with him. She went upstairs to her room, where she usually rested when she needed a break from Mikko. Now occupied by Olavi, Elli entered without hesitation and approached him. Meanwhile, Mikko heard movement upstairs, but he didn't do anything. Elli slept in Olavi's room until dawn, not thinking about Mikko's feelings at all. She returned to her room and Mikko, then lay down beside him. Not long after, Elli apologized to Mikko, who understood her. Mikko said he didn't really want to forgive Elli, but he had to understand her feelings. In his view, freedom was the right not to lie. After that, Mikko went about his day as usual. As noon approached, Olavi approached Mikko to say goodbye because he was leaving that day. Mikko asked if Olavi was sure he wanted to go and asked him to stay a little longer, but Olavi couldn't stay, though he hoped to visit next summer. Olavi also apologized to Mikko, but Mikko pretended not to understand the meaning of Olavi's apology. They then had lunch together with Elli. At the dining table, Mikko recalled their trip to another country in the winter when they were children, and Mikko said that they would never experience such a winter again. Elli, who was listening, felt that something was wrong. Mikko then got up to take his hunting rifle hanging on the wall and said that he would go hunting more often and travel as soon as possible. He felt that new places would provide clearer memories, and he said that misery was when he couldn't love himself. After pouring out his feelings, Mikko aimed the rifle at Olavi, but he couldn't do it and changed the subject. Suddenly, he suggested that they should go hunting together sometime, but of course that never happened. A few hours later, Mikko and Elli took Olavi to the port. There, Olavi invited Elli to come with him, but Elli didn't respond because she chose Mikko. Soon after, Olavi's ship departed, and Elli and Mikko returned home without saying a word. The next day, Mikko had a heart-to-heart talk with Elli, asking her if she could be herself around him. Elli said that she could be herself, but she was too afraid to speak honestly with Mikko. She was afraid that Mikko would overreact and leave her. But Mikko, who now knew Elli's feelings for him better, said that Elli was free to express anything because he loved her and only wanted her to be happy. Mikko admitted that he hated what Elli had done, but he could only see the good side of the situation. From now on, he would let Elli choose her own path in life, with or without him. Despite this, Elli decided to stay with Mikko and work on their relationship.